Believe it or not, this beast next to me is an entry-level car, but it's also a Lamborghini, which means it's one of the most extreme entry-level cars you'll find out there. Meet the new 2015 Lamborghini Huracán. Now, you don't just buy a car for its headlights, but the Huracán does have some pretty cool lights going on here. Note these LEDs, they sort of come up and down vertically, sort of like lightning strikes, and they draw your eye into the general profile of the car here. Note that the rake of the hood, the rake of the windshield sort of match each other. There's not a big kind of angular difference as you come up into the roof line right here. Very recognizable Lamborghini profile, but less going on here along the side in terms of cut lines, in terms of ventilation, versus Lamborghini's other car, the Aventador. So let's talk about this name right here. Looks like it should be pronounced Hurricane or Huracan. It's actually pronounced Huracan according to Lamborghini. The name comes from a famous Spanish bull. So here's where the bull gets its horns. A mid-engine layout in the Huracan, 5.2 liter V10 here with direct and port injection, 602 horsepower, 413 pounds-feet of torque. Thanks to plenty of carbon fiber and aluminum in the chassis, the Huracan only weighs 86 pounds more than a Ferrari 458. Standard all-wheel drive, a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission means 0 to 60 in less than 3.2 seconds. That's wicked fast. The Huracan is actually easier to drive than you'd think. There's more power assist in the steering than you'd expect for a supercar, and the brakes have a nice linear feel despite the fact that they're giant carbon ceramic brakes, which can haul the car down from extra legal speeds very, very quickly. Obviously, as you'd expect, the 5.2 liter V10, tons of power, but more torque than you'd think for a naturally aspirated engine. Lots of power from even 2,500, 2,800 RPM all the way up through 8,000, all the way up to the 8,500 red line in our test car here. Great sound from the V10 engine. Takes on a very different note as you get up, not just necessarily at a certain RPM, but past a certain amount of acceleration. Once you really dig into that gas pedal, the engine just takes on a different note. Sounds really, really good, actually. In terms of handling, our editors agreed that the Huracan feels very planted. The all-wheel drive system has tons and tons of grip. The steering has good turn-in precision. The nose points where you want it to, but you'd really have to give the gas, give lots of gas at exactly the wrong moments mid-corner to make the tail feel especially squirrely. From the air vents to the gauge wraparound, there's a lot of futuristic kind of edgy textures and angles going on here. You'd kind of expect the interior of the Batmobile to seem like this. But honestly, Lamborghini, part of the Volkswagen group, so a lot of Volkswagen, Audi kind of controls scattered about the interior. And that's a really good thing because it breeds familiarity. This knob right here, Audi MMI system users should be very familiar with it. It's got its familiar 4-quadrant buttons. It controls the action here on a 12.3-inch gauge display, which has your multimedia system, also things like your speedometer, your tachometer. There's 3 auxiliary gauges over here. Below that, a lot of toggle switches kind of flow into this center stack here. Here's the transmission. Now you pull up right here to go into reverse. You press this to go into park. This is manual mode. If you want to just go into regular drive, you pull toward you with this large paddle shifter right here. Speaking of these paddle shifters, unencumbered access to them thanks to an F1 style steering wheel that puts all of the major controls, even things like your wipers, your turn signals, things that would normally be on a stock on the steering column, right here at your fingertips. So a lot of idiosyncrasies, a lot of futuristic things in this car, but overall easy enough to kind of get a feel around it, and a lot more space than you'd expect despite the fact that the Huracan looks so low to the ground from the outside. While Lamborghini's flagship Aventador could set you back more than $500,000, the Huracan, which replaces the Gallardo, is a much more affordable car here, starting around $235,000. That's a better price point for a lot of people, and I gotta say, this car will turn just as many heads.